prosecutors in the most left-wing, anti-Trump cabal within the justice system and in the New York office of the FBI. So the idea that they would drop poison pills into these documents is obvious. When Trump keeps saying it's Comey, it's Brennan, it's the same guys creating the hoax, this is what he was referring to. And it is entirely plausible. People who will completely invent the Russian collusion hoax out of whole cloth, people who will shut down anyone who questions the safety and the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccination, people who will tell you that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, are more than capable of this kind of duplicitous treachery. And Alex, I point out, it's very interesting. Who is the media outlet who breaks the story of this alleged doodle done by Donald Trump and sent to Jeffrey Epstein for his birthday?
Journal.
Right. Owned by Rupert Murdoch, the same Rupert Murdoch who paid Governor Ron DeSantis several $1 million in an advance for a book that didn't sell any copies. An inducement.
And we now know they offered money to Tucker Carlson to run against Trump.
So they give it to a known enemy of Trump. And the Wall Street Journal is not the paper it used to be. They should be ashamed of themselves in publishing this. I've known Trump for actually 50 years. Never seen him draw. Ronald Reagan, by the way, was a doodler. You can go online, see he would often doodle during meetings when he was bored. But I've never seen Trump draw a doodle. It's not something he does. It doesn't sound like him. And then you can see how obviously, oh, you and I share a secret. This is bullshit, is what it is. It's just another smear. And the Wall Street Journal has really devolved into being among the worst propagandists in the fake news.
Well, let me just
media.
briefly stop you. I said I'd give you the floor, but you're so on target. But Roger, you're holding back here. It's not probable they did poison pills. They would obviously, controlling the file forever, Comey, the very people, and his daughter running it on the ground, I mean, it's fact, would always take the bad stuff about their people out, and then they have nothing real about Trump, so they just insert crap. And I'm predicting this is the first of a whole bunch of recycled garbage. So this is what they do. This is they were in control of this. People, even Trump supporters, like, that's ridiculous trying to blame them. No, they've been in control of it. This is absolutely what they did. She ran all those cases to limit it and cover it up while spiking it with poison pills. We have them. And that's why Trump discovered all this. And that's why finally her ass is fired. Why did it take all of that to get that witch fired?
Well, you're absolutely right, because now we have the first poison pill. It is this phony drawing. The criminal defense attorney, David Schoen, who very ably represented Trump in one of the two impeachments, pointed out to me that Maureen Comey was able to convince a federal judge not to release Epstein documents in a Freedom of Information Act request because the Epstein investigation is still active. Well, the Epstein investigation is not still active because Epstein is quite dead. It was Maureen Comey and U.S. Attorney Damian Williams, who handled the Epstein case, handled the Maxwell case. If Maxwell engaged in child sex trafficking, who are her conspirators? She could not possibly have done that alone. Also, these are the people who started in the beginning the Diddy case, where they didn't call any of the witnesses to what Diddy was really doing. Diddy had his home wired up with cameras the same way Jeffrey Epstein did. So this is one massive cover-up of the Epstein murder. No one in their right mind believes that Jeffrey Epstein murdered himself. The New York City medical examiner, Dr. Michael Baden, one of the most respected pathologists in the country, examined Epstein's body at the request of his family, and he said that the 3 broken bones in his neck were inconsistent with his being hung. Baden said that he had personally done the autopsy in over 1,000 hanging cases.
Yeah, he's the most respected in the world, not just the U.S. Let me just stop you and back you up, because you kind of went over it quickly. Maureen Comey requested all the documents be sealed in the case. She limited it to whitewash it, and she asked that Ghislaine Maxwell's, quote, little black book of customers, put it on screen, be sealed. So that's in there. So when Trump, and I'll just say it, ham-fistedly said, no, there's nothing there, it's all crap, it's all bull, he meant the stuff they stuck in there. No, it's not Trump. It was Trump that got Epstein charged, but then it got handed by the controllers in New York to her to limit it. And then she got the little black book blocked. And so Trump needs to be specific. No, there's real stuff with them. I'm saying they put a bunch of garbage in there we've now discovered. And people will totally understand that. And she's the one on record, Roger, blocking the little black book that we now know is there.
Well, so this is going to be very, very interesting. I noticed on CNN, on X this morning, Julie Roginski, who's a New Jersey Democrat, very smart lady. I don't agree with her politics. But she said, this is outrageous. Trump has no right to release grand jury testimony. That's supposed to be secret. Well, first of all, I point out that in his post on Truth, he said he's instructed the attorney general to release the grand jury testimony subject to the approval of the court. So Bondi needs to direct the U.S. attorney, the interim U.S. attorney in the Southern District, to move immediately to unseal all of the grand jury testimony in the 2019 indictment of Jeffrey Epstein, but also, based on what a whistleblower tells me, vitally important, also unseal the search warrants for both his New York mansion and for his island. I think it is vitally important we do that. In addition, we now know that Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna has been approached by a FBI whistleblower who was witness to the destruction and tampering of the Epstein evidence in New York.
Whoa. You told me, you're always so far ahead of the curve. You told me a day before it happened that there were going to be criminal referrals out of Congress and Paulina and Luna, which I'm glad you guys are working together. They're in Florida. And there are also going to be some Senate referrals. That's incoming. But this is massive. And I talked to the Congresswoman as well. She's really doing a great job. She's all over everything. You're saying that she has an FBI whistleblower that is going to be able to report on Comey's inside operations. That's who's in control, destroying the real evidence. Wow. And that is newsmaking. Give us every detail, Roger.
Well, I must be honest with you, Alex. I don't have the details. I communicated with the Congresswoman late last night. Look, I opposed to her election to Congress because I thought she was a DeSantis Republican. I was completely and totally wrong. Man, you have to be big enough in life to admit when you're wrong. I was wrong about her. She's turned out to be great.
And by the way, I'm wrong sometimes too, but at the time, I said, listen, you're going after DeSantis so much. He's a non-issue. You don't have to destroy anybody that's been supportive of him. I said, they're going to be with us soon. Was I not right about that?
No, you're completely wrong. I can never put up with backstabbers. Ron DeSantis would be managing a McDonald's outside.
I know.
Orlando,
I'm not talking about DeSantis. You don't have to blow up anybody that was supporting him. She was not that sophisticated then. She's getting sophisticated, Roger.
She never supported him. I was wrong about this. I thought she would support DeSantis in his showdown with Donald Trump. She turned out to be among President Trump's strongest supporters.
I'm not being mean to you, but you remember me telling you to be nice to her? Remember?
No, I have no memory of that whatsoever.
Oh, yeah,
so,
right. Yeah, right.
The
point is, moving away from that.
This is a bombshell story. She's going to join me at 77 WABC Radio Sunday afternoon at 4:30 to talk about it. You can hear it this weekend. I'm sure we're going to learn more about it between now and then. Anna Paulina Luna is doing an amazing job. She is really the one who's been after the deep state over the documents that they've held back and the JFK disclosures. She's the one, working closely with Tulsi Gabbard, forced the CIA to finally turn over the Joanides file that proved that after 6 decades of lying about their knowledge of Lee Harvey Oswald, both the CIA director, John McCone, and then Deputy Director Richard Helms, both testified to Congress that they had little knowledge of Oswald, when in fact, they were monitoring him, they were monitoring his communications, and they were handling him. It was
absolutely their psychological warfare division, and we're totally vindicated. But thanks for her. But it's interesting to talk about how great she is, which is true. She just gets better and better. She's just savaging the deep state on every front. But I want to talk before we go to break here about what you just said. I get it. You're booking her for your #1 show in New York. which I've been on. My God, explosive response. I'm jealous of that great show you got. But seriously, you're talking to her, I guess, yesterday. I want you to tell us the little bits you got, because this is huge. I'm going to be texting her right now. Now, hold on. And you're booking her for the show, and she tells you, I'm coming on to talk about this FBI whistleblower that's going to report on the Democrat-controlled FBI destroying Epstein evidence. That is sensational. So you say you don't know a lot yet. That's fine. Give us every word she told you.
Well, it's actually a little better than that. The reason that I asked her is because she also has sent a criminal referral to the Justice Department over the fact that Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell lied before Congress when he said that the $2.5 billion renovation of the already palatial headquarters of the Federal Reserve did not include a private elevator for the Fed governors, did not include a private dining room, did not include an opulent roof garden. He said there was, his quote, no new marble, no new fountains. That's all false. That's perjury, and it's material. They charged me with lying to Congress, even though nothing I said covered up.
Okay, Roger, I know we were going to get into this, and that's the next subject, and it's mega massive, and it's so huge.
But that's why I asked her to be on the show. And in the course of asking her about that, she said, you know, they really should. Nobody has talked about the fact that I have pointed out that an FBI whistleblower has contacted me who was witness to the destruction of Epstein-related documents in New York. And I said, wow, come on the show and talk about that. She said, I'm going to be talking about it. That's all I know. You can go to her X profile. She has certainly tipped it there. This is a bombshell story because it proves that Trump is absolutely correct. When he says it's a hoax, he doesn't mean Epstein being a child sex trafficker is a hoax. He means the effort to frame him in that is a hoax. We know definitively that Trump cut Epstein off prior to Epstein being exposed and charged as for sex crimes.
This is huge. Let's finish up with this. I mean, their whole attempted poison pill set up Trump as unraveling in live time. This is incredible. Stay with us. And a patriot. She is just, with her investigations and her activities, doing so much good. I can't even keep track of it. Just like MTG. I mean, this is awesome. Look at Republican women that we have been electing. I mean, these people are the future. I love it. Whereas the left finds the dumbest, stupidest, most mindless, vapid women they can put up there as fronts, like Kamala Harris. Look at the women that the populist, conservative, common sense movement is producing. It's amazing. And I want to finish up on this. Since you talked about it last night, you talked to her, I've now gone to her ex. Yeah, she broke this last night. That she's got this FBI whistleblower and the Democrats and Comey all in there destroying evidence. Of course they did, and then only left a bunch of poison pill innuendo and crap on Trump. Trump goes and grabs it, finds out it's all a setup, tells us, but did an angry old man job of it because, as he said, I'm sick of all these hoaxes. I'm sick of this crap, and I'm predicting, because they already did this in 2016 and 2017, they're going to say Melania was a prostitute, Melania worked for Epstein. None of that's true. And Melania was a model for him, and he introduced her. None of that's true. They said that before. It's all on record. It was Donald Trump's agency. Epstein had nothing to do with it. So let's finish up with this and then get into the history of that. Roger, you were there. I talked to you yesterday and today. And it's on record. The New York Times in the gossip columns wrote about you constantly. You guys are best buddies, 50 years. Keep saying 47. The time flies. I mean, you went out to some of their first dinners. You know the whole thing. When he was divorced, you were the wingman. You were his buddy he took out on dates. Little secret there. It's not a secret. It was reported back then. Roger won't talk about it on air now. I brought up the stories to him, and he just said he's not going to get into it. But let's just say Roger knows Donald Trump very, very well. They're buddies. And that's what it comes down to. So, Roger, finish up with Anna Paulina Luna and this information, and then let's get into what the other poison pills are going to be that they put in the file in the Ghislaine Maxwell and in the Epstein case that never got to trial because he was killed, obviously murdered, neck broken in 3 spots, Roger Stone. Then take your time on the Jerome Powell and Anna Paulina Luna introducing the criminal referrals. We're told Senate referrals are coming. You told me last night, it broke today, that she did do that, and how he's caught red-handed. $2 billion in renovation. There's no new marble. There's no, decks. There's no fountains. There's no private elevators. There's no, he caught red-handed in massive cut and dry perjury. But let's get to that next. Finish up on what you think is going to be in the poison pills. Because I predicted they'd start rolling out poison pills out of the file, and now we know what it is, pure crap.
Well, Alex, first of all, I want to apologize to your audience for the fact that my tongue is blue. This stuff, methylene blue, it's amazing. You didn't ask me to say this. You don't pay me to say this. This isn't a paid promotion. I just guest hosted the Greg Kelly Show on 77 WABC, the most powerful AM radio signal in the United States today. I've got to do 2 more interviews this afternoon, and then I got to do my own show, The Stone Zone, on WABC Radio. Folks can see it at 8 p.m. at WACRadio.com. I'm 72 years old. How do I have the energy and mental focus to do this? I was a great fan of Brain Force and then Brain Force Plus, great products. I used them when Owen Schroyer and I helmed the War Room until some toothless hobo came along and stole the name of our show. And I must tell you, of all the products you produced, Alex, this is rocket fuel. This is amazing, amazing, life-changing stuff. Cannot recommend it highly enough.
Well, thank you. Since you brought that up, and I should have thought to set it up.
After his first marriage broke up, Donald Trump was dating some of the most gorgeous women on the face of the planet. And he was a major playboy. He was single. And New York was a hot place then, unlike the Marxist shithole that it has become under Mayor Eric Adams. Yes, I was around when they first started dating. I was with them socially on a number of occasions. I know that they met because she applied to a modeling agency that Donald Trump owned. And no, Jeffrey Epstein didn't own any part of it. I don't even know if he knew Epstein concurrently at that time. I just sent your producers photos of us from those days. So this is a smear. This is a vile smear. No, it is false that Melania Trump never worked as a prostitute. That's insulting and outrageous. She's one of the most cultured, kindest, best educated, discreet. She's a great mother. She shielded Barron until he was old enough to make his own decisions from the glare of publicity that comes from being in the presidential family. And that is a vile, vicious smear. Did she pose for pictures that would be considered racy and risque? Yes. Is there any nudity in them? No, none whatsoever. She's an incredibly beautiful person inside and out. But that is a typical example of what these people are capable of. People who are capable of saying Roger Stone was the back channel to Julian Assange and WikiLeaks to try to frame Donald Trump are capable of making up this lie too. So now we understand what the president meant when he said it's all a hoax. He's not saying that Epstein was a child sex trafficker is a hoax. He's not saying that Epstein pandered underage children to various elites. But when you see people like Jamie Raskin, what a piece of crap that guy is, Marxist, son of a communist, or Dan Goldman, calling for release of the Epstein files, they need to be careful what they're asking for. As I said in my 2015 book, The Clintons' War on Women, by the way, you can get it by going to EpsteinTruthBook.com, EpsteinTruthBook.com. It's all there. Who visited the island? President Bill Clinton on the plane 26 times on the island. In fact, after Epstein was charged with sex crimes in Florida, but before he pled guilty, the Clintons took a $25,000 contribution from him, whereas Donald Trump cut Epstein off prior to his being exposed and charged in Florida. He heard about an incident in which Epstein made an indecent approach to an underage girl who worked at the spa at Mar-a-Lago, and he banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. He banned him from all Trump properties, and he basically banned him from his life. Contrast that with the Clintons, who continued to socialize with him. Bill was on the Lolita Express 26 times, many times without his secret service detail. Why would that be? One time traveling with Kevin Spacey. How odd that is. So this is part of the cover-up. Not only do they want to smear Donald Trump, whose interactions with Epstein are known to be peripheral at best.
But now they want to do it to his
and
family. But let's stop there. Let's stop there. Now Elon Musk has come out and said this Wall Street Journal thing sounds completely fake. The letter sounds bogus. It really doesn't sound like something Trump would say, by the way. Yeah, you think Trump gives men letters and does doodles that have never been known to be done and says, oh, our little secret? I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous, Roger.
If you go to my book, states Stone's rules, one of the rules says always avoid being obvious. This is obvious. This is completely obvious. It's a smear, and it is how coincidental that they leak it to the Wall Street Journal, owned by Rupert Murdoch, who despises Donald Trump, who tried to did recruit one candidate to run against him, Ron DeSantis, who Trump crushed, tried to get our mutual friend Tucker Carlson to challenge him. Tucker was too smart for that. So the globalist, who I believe his past wife was a Chinese communist spy, by the way, who was simultaneously having an affair with Tony Blair, same time she was married to Rupert. How coincidental that that's where they go leak this story. Mark Halpern, who was canned at HBO online yesterday, predicting that this would coming. He was canned for sexual harassment. Why would they use a guy like that to try?
Well, let's expand on that and then move on to the Federal Reserve, Roger, that's so important, and also Anna Paulina Luna spearheading the criminal referral of the private Fed chair for his perjury, publicly certified. But I wanted to just finish up with this. We have Raskin and the Democrats, if you read their letters and their statements, they say we want anything with Donald Trump in it released, nothing else. Now the Democrats, nationally, and as you said, New York, are saying, no. Don't release the Epstein case in New York, and don't release the Ghislaine Maxwell. And we have Comey's daughter on record fighting and succeeding to have it all sealed. Comey's daughter demanded the federal judge seal Epstein files. Ghislaine Maxwell's little black book to remain secret. So they're the ones, Trump, listen to you. They now are going to push to have this released. We'll see if the judges try to block it. And now we know exactly what's going on. And instead, they're using leaks that the Democrats have obviously been told by Comey that they know what is in there. Who do you think gave the Wall Street Journal this info that is in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial? It's obviously Maureen Comey. And finally, Trump got pissed and said, why is she still there? And her ass got fired. That's all clear what has now happened.
And here's the crucial point, Alex. The odds are overwhelming that when Pam Bondi and the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York moved to unseal this information, which is required by the court, normally there would be an argument if Epstein were still living that he could suffer irreparable harm. But because he's dead, he has no rights. There's no one to protect there, no legal right. This material needs to be released. In fact, all of the Epstein material that's already public, which the government has heavily redacted, those redactions should be released. But the odds are overwhelming that the judge who will hear this in the Southern District of New York is going to be a Democrat judge, a judge appointed either by sleepy Joe Biden or by Barack Hussein Obama. So let's see if the judge releases the grand jury testimony, and this is very important. Also, the search warrants for Epstein's place in New York and his island in the Virgin Islands, both of which were issued concurrent with the indictment by the Trump Justice
That's right.
Department.
And now Fox is reporting on Anna Paulina Luna. Feds accused of destroying Epstein evidence, put on notice by GOP firebrand. So it's all happening. And again, because Trump just got mad and didn't handle this well, it created a huge Streisand effect. But now I predict this will all just blow up the Democrats' faces 10 times worse, Roger.
I think you're absolutely right, Alex. You actually pieced this together last night because I've been perplexed about not read. I just wasn't reading him right. Everything he said was correct. I just wasn't reading him right. And
Well,
he's right.
also, when
People,
you and others have talked to him, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but others I've talked to, he just says, this is all BS. It's all made up by the same people. I don't want to effing hear about it. And so he's just so pissed off after being lied about, set up over and over again. And I've been told by others that's kind of the newer Trump. He's kind of done and just, not just on this issue, but has been getting a little feisty.
well, Alex, here's what I would tell you, and that is, I sensed a difference after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. What I sensed, in addition to a new sense of serenity, in other words, an absolute sureness that he's doing God's work and that his life is protected, that he's wearing the armor of God, also a new urgency. He knows he's only got 4 years to save this country. It's like turning around an ocean liner. It's not easy. It's a massive fight. And he correctly is aggravated that the mainstream media and the left wing socialist Marxist Democrats are using this issue to try to distract people from the fact that we have a record Dow, that in the month of June, for the first time in decades, the United States actually ran a surplus, that he's brought in over $422 million of new revenue to the United States in tariff revenue, that illegal border crossings are down 98%, that we are in the middle of the largest deportation of dangerous illegal immigrant gang members and criminals in American history, that the prediction, from people like Robert Reich, remember him? He was the Secretary, I think, of Commerce under Bill Clinton. I've had it up to here
He's the
with this
garden
guy.
gnome. He's the garden gnome. Oh, Roger, you're totally right. Even CNN having to admit that things are going better than what Trump even said it would. But let's just stop right there. We're almost out of time. You've been very gracious. StoneZone.com. You got your own big top ABC, top radio show to do all of it. Let's get into Jerome Powell now, who, again, red-handed, multi-billion-dollar renovation of the private Federal Reserve complex there in D.C., telling lie after lie after lie that's absolutely hand in the cookie jar evidence here, and Anna Paulina Luna with criminal referrals, and why that's so important. Under the Federal Reserve Act, Congress has to repeal it. It's in control, this private group, mainly European shareholders on record, and he will not give us interest rate cuts. But the very same central bank of the EU is owned by the same families on record. They gave them interest rate cuts. And again, we had previous interest rate cuts by him when there was even higher inflation. So this is pure crap trying to sabotage. And Trump can't get rid of him. His term is up next year, and then Trump can nominate that person. But that's it. Explain how big this is and give us the meat and potatoes.
First of all, I think there's an important backstory people need to understand. Federal Housing Finance Administration Agency Director Bill Pulte, who is a pit bull, the guy who discovered a 22-year crime spree by the New York Attorney General Letitia James, a chain of mortgage fraud going back 22 years, in which she borrowed $586,000 in undisclosed mortgages on a home that is appraised at $125,000. Exactly the crime that she falsely accused Trump of. It was Pulte who discovered Letitia James' crime spree. It was Pulte who discovered that Congressman Adam Pencil Neck Schiff, had a home, a condo in Burbank, California, and a home in Maryland, and he was declaring both of them as his principal legal residence in order to get a lower interest rate and a lower insurance rate. That's called mortgage fraud. It was Bill Pulte who discovered that. It is Pulte who has emerged as the principal critic of Jerome J. Let them eat cake Powell. Now, the two criteria for an interest rate cut by the Fed are unemployment and inflation. And if you examine the last 4 rate cuts by the Federal Reserve, you will find that those two indicators today are either the same or lower than they were the last time the Fed cut rates. They tried to cut rates to help the Democrat nominee for president in the last election. Of course, it failed. So Powell is like a man driving while looking in the rear view mirror. All of the data he's examining is outdated. But then, secondarily, he's been fundamentally wrong. He and Robert Reich, who I went to high school with, who continues to insist that tax cuts cause inflation and deficits when tax cuts actually cause an incredible spike in federal revenues. It's spending that causes inflation and deficits. But it was Pulte who has pointed out over and over again that Powell needs to cut rates on the American people. Now we learn that at a time that Jay Powell will not cut rates on people so they can buy a home or buy a car or buy a motorcycle or buy anything else, he has authorized a $2.5 billion renovation of his already palatial headquarters in Washington, D.C. And he specifically testified before the U.S. Senate, and he was asked directly, and he said, no, the plan does not include private elevator for the Fed governors. It does not include a private dining room. There is no roof garden. There is no new marble. There are no new fountains. But if you look at the plan that has been approved, all of those things are in the plan, which means he lied under oath to Congress. Now, they charged me once with lying to Congress, but in order to violate the False Statements Act, your statement has to be willful and you have to be covering up some crime, some material fact. There was no Russian collusion for me to lie about. In this case, he's lying about the opulence of this plan. At the same time, he's telling the American consumers, the American people, to shove it when they need an interest rate. Why is he doing this? He's the one playing politics, not Donald
Well, why
Trump.
is he so arrogant? Well, obviously he wants to stop the economy. That was their plan all along, and he said he would do it. And he said he wasn't going to raise them, and he said if Trump has me resign, I won't. When he was president-elect, but it's so naked. Sorry, it's not $2 billion, $2.5 billion. I mean, imagine what 2.5 billion does. That building complex is not. I mean, huge fountains, oak gardens, palatial facilities, suites, new marble, and they have the purchase orders. It's all coming out. He's just like, no, there's nothing, no private elevators, nothing. Why would he so brazenly lie to Congress? Because he thinks he's above the law.
I think he's above the law, but I would point out to you that Bill Pulte's been a builder his whole life. Donald Trump has been a builder his whole life. That's what they do. They both will tell you 2.5 billion. It's almost impossible to spend that much on a renovation on a building that doesn't even need to be renovated.
So it's probably some money laundering operation.
It's hard to say, but it is an outrage, and every taxpayer in America should be upset about it.
Incredible. So what are we going to do if we don't get the interest rate cut? The economy's doing good despite that, but all the evidence shows it'll supercharge it, cut the national debt. What can we do? Can't Congress move to start repealing the Federal Reserve Act to get his ass to do the right thing?
I strongly favor repealing the Federal Reserve Act. I also, while we're at it, we should repeal the Federal Income Tax Act of 1913. We're going to have to get more Republicans in the House and the Senate to do that because, as you know, not everyone in the Republican caucus is an America First patriot. We got some rhinos there who don't have the guts to do what needs to be done. They're the real problem. The problem are not the Marxist Democrats. You know where they stand. Our problems today are the gutless, weak-kneed, lily-livered, white wine swilling, brie cheese eating, country club belonging Republican members of Congress who have neither guts nor balls. It's time to get rid of the Federal Reserve. Ron